Hey guys, this is Dave.
This is Brent. This is another ACP Faith Talk.
That was scary. We actually got that halfway
We're working on this. We're getting better.
So, second one of our series, Faith Talk show. We want to talk about what you guys want to talk about. Brent, where can they reach us?
They can reach us pretty much everywhere on social media. Guys, we are large and in charge. We're all over.
Well, we're large anyway.
We're large, yeah. You can find us anywhere you do your social media. Check it out. Our newest account is Snapchat, apparently.
Well, we're kind of getting it. Right.
Working on it.
We're working on it.
But we're all over Instagram. Follow us. Hit us up on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. Everywhere you want to go, we're there.
ACPYouthRally.org is the website as well.
You can get to
get all that stuff from there.
Yeah.
So, I have a question.
Yeah.
When you were a kid, and I know for you and I, it was a few years ago, just a couple, 2 or 3. I'm talking little kid, not teenager. Did your parents ever teach you the golden rule?
The golden rule!
Now, wait a minute. My golden rule was different because when I was growing up, it was do unto others before they undo you. So, I mean, there was that one, but
Or he who has the gold makes the rules.
there's that too.
I think we're going the VeggieTale version though. I have 2 little kids, guys, so you'll hear it a lot. The golden ruler, Sherlock Holmes. It's one of my favorite episodes just because of the way they say it. But yeah, it's the golden rule, right?
Yeah, the real golden rule. What is
real
the
golden
what is the real golden rule?
So the real golden rule is to love your neighbor as you love yourself, right?
Yeah, but what is loving yourself? Well, first of all, what's loving? Oh, let's go because the other one's pretty existential. What's the loving your neighbor? What's that look like?
Loving you, well, that's a stretch. I do the love yourself part really. I like me.
What does that look like?
I don't necessarily like my neighbors.
So let's go with the liking yourself part. What does that look like? Are we talking you're arrogant? Because sometimes we all are.
Yeah, I can be pretty arrogant.
Yeah, well, so it's kind of. It's hard to look at this good. Anyway, cut that out of editing.
Guys,
Black that out.
If you haven't seen the VeggieTale version of this, it's Sherlock Holmes, Sherlock. Not
Sherlock Holmes?
Yeah, Sherlock Holmes and the Golden Ruler.
Okay, I gotta go find that.
I'll loan it to you. It's great.
Lord.
It's really great. I love VeggieTales.
I love VeggieTales too, but I haven't seen that.
It takes it down a notch, which is really good. And it's the golden rule, as we all grew up, or at least we grew up listening to it, is that you treat people the way you want to be treated.
Okay.
It wasn't so much love your neighbor as thyself. That's what it was based off of.
Right.
But it was treat other people the way you want to be treated, which is, I think, just a non-Bible way of saying love your neighbor as yourself.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Right? Because if you treat other people the way that you want to be treated, it's the same idea. If I love me, then I'm going to treat you, and I treat you the way I'm talking in circles now. Sorry.
That's okay.
I got lost. I got in a loop.
Treating your neighbor as yourself. I love me, neighbor yourself. Love me.
Yeah. Sorry, I got in a loop there.
That's all right.
So, right, I think it goes back to loving yourself. That's a whole other topic because there is definitely problems with that. There are a lot of people who do not love themselves, and that's a whole other topic. And maybe we'll get on that one.
Sure.
Comment below if you want to see us talk about that one because
We'll be happy to.
that's a whole.
It is. It is.
That's a long topic. But I think the gist of it is, right, if you treat someone else the way you want to be treated, if you love somebody else the way you love yourself, right, there was the scripture where it talks about, what father would, if their son asked for bread, would give him a scorpion, right? It's the same kind of thing. I love me. I'm not going to do something bad for me necessarily.
Well, look at Mark. Is it Mark 12? I believe it is.
Yeah.
Where they're coming to Christ and saying, "What's the greatest commandments?" And love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, body, mind, and strength.
Right.
And the second is like it: love your neighbor as yourself. Here's what Christ is doing. He's taking the entirety of the law and going, "Here it is. 2 things. Do
Very
it.
simple.
That's it." They're both, and he's not saying that
God's first,
Jesus second.
God's people.
Oh yeah.
And now,
Jesus and God are the same. Don't get me
I'm
wrong.
going to step on some toes here. I said God's people. I'm not talking about God's church.
No, but people.
I'm talking about God created all people. All people.
So I got a story on that one. And this, I might start crying. As you know, we work out a lot. And probably more than me, but I'm getting there. Anyway,
I'm a gym nerd.
I'm a regular nerd. Gym, technology, whatever. Anyway, we're training for things like Tough Mudder and Spartan. And, I'll spare you the details of that. Anyway, I'm coming home from the gym one night. For some reason, I wanted a Slurpee. If you guys don't know what a Slurpee is, go to a 7-Eleven. It's one of those icy drinks, My body's like, you need Slurpee.
Something you should not have after a workout. Gym nerd, sorry.
Anyway, that's why I didn't call him going, drinking a Slurpee. Anyway, so I get down there, and there's these two guys that are standing with their equipment, like their sleeping bag and their backpacks and whatnot.
With their possessions.
Their possessions, sorry. Outside of 7-Eleven, two homeless guys. And something just hit me, as I'm going in to buy the Slurpee, of do something for these guys, give them a hand. And I went in and I got a couple of sandwiches and I got a couple of bags of chips, and I walked it out there to them and I said, hey guys, I don't have a whole lot on me, but what I have is yours. And I handed the food over to them. And Tim and the other gentleman, I didn't understand his name at the time, I just stood there talking to them, and I shook their hands. They were surprised that I took the time to shake their hands and get to know them. One of the guys says, yeah, if you ever need help, with moving stuff or manual labor, and you see me around, just let me know. And I said, well, same thing with me, man. If you need any help, any food or anything, and you see me around, let me know. And we kind of traded names and so forth. Well, anyway, another guy walks up. So I'm already starting to get teary-eyed. Another guy walks up. His name was Tim, and Tim's a little bit shorter and had all his possessions on his back, and they were pretty much going to bed down there at the 7-Eleven for the night. And the Lord spoke again, saying, go help these guys. So I walked back in and I bought Tim a hot dog and some chips because they didn't have any more sandwiches. And I come back out, and these other two guys were sharing their food with Tim. And I'm just like, wow, these guys had nothing. And so the guy comes, that's really cool. So they're serving each other. So I hand this food to Tim, and Tim said, he goes, thank you so much, starts to eat. And we sat there for about half an hour talking. Before I went to go get Tim his food, I had turned to go back into the store for a moment, and I had dropped my Slurpee. And it just went everywhere, and I'm too tired from the gym. I'm like, I should pick that up. And Tim bends down, picks it up. The other guy, whose name I couldn't understand, he says, do you want another one? Like, excuse me? Do you want another one? I'll buy you another one. And I'm like, I was dumbfounded, because here's this guy he literally had nothing except the possessions on his back. He had just enough money to buy me a Slurpee that I didn't even really need to have. And he was willing to do that because I brought mine. And it was just this awe-inspiring moment. I kind of pawned it off with a joke. I said, no, that was me dropping the Slurpee was the Lord and my trainer telling me I didn't need to buy that. But it was this instance of, here I am trying to serve these guys in the name of the Father, to feed them when I'm seeing hungry people. Not only just feed them, because a lot of us will go, here's some food, see ya, and they're out. Is you take the time to sit there and talk to them and get to know them, and be there for them if you see them around again. But then this guy was ready to serve me because I did something like drop a Slurpee. I went home in tears.
So, do you live next to 7-Eleven?
No.
So, are you neighbors?
No. They're people.
But they're your neighbors.
Well, they're neighbors. They live in the area.
See,
that's a good point.
That's the thing. I think we get wrapped up in the wording.
What actually is a neighbor and what's not. Yeah, that's true.
We get wrapped up in thinking that our neighbors are the people who live next door to us.
It's wherever you're at.
Are above us, or our friends at school, or your neighbors is your world.
It's wherever you're at.
It's where you at. I mean, that's your neighbor is your world. It's you're supposed to go out. We talk about the Great Commission. You guys have all heard that, Matthew 28, and we all go, well, we can't all be missionaries. And that's not what he meant. Just like here, God didn't mean, that's right, sell everything you all have and go be a missionary in a foreign country.
Well, he meant that for
God said,
he called somebody.
God said, go into the world.
Right.
Now, if you look at the way that's actually structured in the Bible, Bible geek out for a minute here. If you look at the language in it and the context, that was go into your world, not go into the globe. That's go into your world. That means go into the people in your life, in your circle, and the people you relate with, because that's your world. Let's face it, right? You know, statistically, there are people who, like in LA, who will never actually live outside of a 6-block radius of where they were born. People who live only a few miles from the ocean, who have never seen the ocean, because it's outside of their world. For people, and guys, the statistics on this are actually pretty shocking, especially if you travel much. Like Dave and I travel a lot. There are a lot of people who will never go outside of the town they were born in. And I mean, this is more widespread than some people would like to think. But there are people who will never go outside of the immediate. And when God says your world, we're talking about people who never go outside of a 6-block radius. That's their world. God didn't say, go to Kenya.
They're not going to Kenya.
They're not going to Kenya, man. They're going to the guy 2 blocks over. That's their world. And when God says love your neighbor, He's not talking about
your actual neighbor.
I got some lovely neighbors. I don't actually know any of their names because most of them don't speak English.
That's true.
And they're really nice people. The people across from us own an ice cream truck.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll come over and bring ice cream for my girls because they need to clean out their truck, so they still have ice cream in the freezer, right? Really nice people. We were out 2 4th of Julys ago, right? And my daughters were still a little too small to do fireworks. And so we were just standing out front in the yard watching our neighbors do fireworks and watching the big explosions you can see from fireworks shows. And they came over and brought sparklers and little poppets for my children because they saw we didn't have fireworks. No, we didn't have fireworks because I didn't buy them because the girls were too small. But they saw we weren't doing it, so they shared with us. And then they brought ice cream sandwiches over for the girls and brought me a cold beer because that's all they had to offer me. And that's what they were drinking. So then they invited us over to eat their food they were cooking out front. I don't even know their name. I feel really bad about this because we don't speak the same language and my Spanish is horrible.
They make it out for that.
But we don't speak the same language and we don't know each other, hang out. But they're my neighbors and they treat us really well. And we go over and try and help out with them when they're struggling with stuff.
Right.
The language barrier isn't actually that big of a problem because the intent is there.
Mm-hmm.
Right? God didn't say your neighbors is in those people. God said your neighbors is in your world.
Your circle of influence.
So when you look at this verse we look at, right? It says, you shall love your neighbor. This is in Matthew 12, verse 30, or sorry, Mark 12, thank you. I'm looking right at it, I'm dumb today. And this is starting verse 30, midway through verse 31. You shall love your world as yourself.
And we're changing that for just a second.
We're changing that,
Yeah,
but it's applicable here. Did I say that?
You said it
applicable.
right. You said it right. You said it right.
Make fun of myself later for that in video
right.
editing. But that word works. That's the same thing as when Jesus gives the Great Commission.
Mm-hmm.
That is interchangeable in this context. And I think we get tied up in the geography of the wording and think, oh, that's my neighbors. No, that's your world. That's your circle. And I have a really small circle, right? I have people I go to church with. I have people I work with. I only have like 2 or 3 friends outside of that. Dave's one of the only people who puts up with me. My world is generally my children this time, my wife. So I have a pretty small circle these days because I'm not a very social person. But how I treat you guys reflects that, or should reflect that. And if it's not, then I need to reevaluate that.
Now, one thing I will stress is that there are people that are called to be those foreign.
Oh, absolutely, and I'm not taking away from that.
No. But there are folks that are called to go to foreign countries to serve in foreign countries, and God bless them. one
Yeah.
program like the AIM program.
I actually have several friends who have been missionaries.
Yes.
And
And
are missionaries.
but too many times I think that we look at the entirety of the idea of go forth into all the world, as the Great Commission says, and we look at that and go, like you said earlier, oh my goodness, that's too big.
Yeah. I
It's
don't want
not
to go to
good.
Russia. I don't want to go to
Right now, I
China.
don't. Right now, I don't really want to go to Russia. But the idea of going into my world, into my circle of influence, my friends, my workplace, my school place,
That's your mission.
and being there to serve, that is my mission. And I'll say it as a preacher told me a number of years ago was, there are no bench warmers in Christianity. If you don't know what a bench warmer is, those people that ride the bench during football games who never get to play, yeah, there are no bench warmers in Christianity. We are all called to be on mission. We are called to have a mission. And our mission is to teach and preach Jesus Christ to the world. And it doesn't always mean that we're going to stand in front of the pulpit, or stand behind the pulpit. Stand in front of the pulpit, that can be weird, and preach the Word of God necessarily. But it does mean that we show people Christ through what we do and what we say. And loving our neighbors as ourselves, loving our neighbors, people around us in our circle of influence, in our area, in our location, wherever we're at, goes a long way to showing people Jesus.
I think Dave and I are pretty much in the same place on this.
Mhm.
And I'm sorry if it throws you guys that we went from Mark 12 over to Matthew 28. I want you guys to go in and check it out yourself
Yes.
and look at those two scriptures and look at the context around it and see if you agree with this, because I think they're pretty much interchangeable
Mhm.
in concept. I think that the Great Commission is just an extension of what Jesus said right here when he said, love your neighbors as yourself. Because you're not going to, healthy people are not going to do bad things for themselves purposely. So that means you're not going to do bad things or wrong things to other people. And I think we're in the same spot on that.
I agree.
Tell us what you guys think. Put it in the comments below. Let's open up a discussion. How do you read this? Do you agree with us? Do you think it means something else? Let us know.
Have we missed something?
Yeah,
Is there anything we want
please
to talk about?
fill us in. We want your feedback. Comment below. Give us other ideas. We'll see you guys.
We'll see you guys again soon. Peace. We're out.